وعليه الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائم على أعدائهم وغاصبي حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم لسلمان الفارسي: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، من أحب فاطمة ابنتي فهو في الجنة ومن أبغضها فهو في النار. يا سلمان، حب فاطمة ينفع 100 من المواطين، أيأسر تلك المواطين؟ الموت والقبر والميزان والصراط والمحاسبة، فمن رضيت عنه ابنتي رضيت عنه، ومن رضيت عنه رضي الله عنه، ومن غضبت عليه غضب الله عليه. يا سلمان، ويل لمن يظلمها ويظلم بعلها، وويل لمن يظلم ذريتها. صدق رسوله كريم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. A very beautiful narrative that comes from Rasulullah to Salman, who was one of the closest companion of the Prophet. And as these days are the days of the Fatimiyya, and tonight or today being the concluding discussion for this year, perhaps for the days of the Fatimiyya, it would be nice to reflect a bit upon her power and her station, which is peculiarly in regards to the Qiyamat, in regards to the hereafter, the power of doing shafa'at. Usually the dunya is limited to show the reality of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam because of the limitation that is there in this dunya. The Qiyamat becomes the place, because Qiyamat or Barzakh, for example, which is a different realm, which is a higher realm. In that realm, the possibility of their reality reaches to certain extent. Even there, one would say that it is not possible to really fully comprehend. Like, for example, the Maqam Mahmud, which is a peculiar station, Maqam of Rasulullah, which Rasulullah will be given. It is in order because the Maqam, the position, the reality of the Prophet, this world did not have the capacity to digest, to take. It's a question of capacity, the zarfiyat, a glass have only, this bottle have the capacity to only hold this much of water. I cannot pour in, the whole jug into this, because it doesn't have the capacity. So the same way the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, Ma'sumeen, Shuhada, they don't have, this dunya does not have the capacity to really show their reality. And in order for Allah to show and honor them for what they have done in this dunya, Allah creates the Day of Judgment. Allah stages the Day of Judgment in different ways and through different means. Allah points out to their maqam and their reality. Many narratives comes about from the Imams and Masumeen and from Rasulullah, like this narration, I will translate in a bit, points out to the maqam manzilat of these personalities. Another beautiful narration that comes from Jabir, where he quotes Imam Baqir alayhi salam when he asked, Imam Baqir in regards to the maqam manzilat of Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. The fifth Imam says, Wallah ya Jabir, innaha dhalika al-yawm, which is the Day of Judgment. He says, the Imam says, I'll do the translation because of the time. The Imam says that yawm, on that day, Fatima will be asked to go and pick those who love Fatima. It's a long hadith, but I'm just making the, giving you the gist of the hadith. And this is when, at a time where Fatima says that I would like the people to understand the manzilat wa maqam. And Allah allows her so that she can go and do the shafa'at on the day of judgment. And she would bring the mu'mineen and will take them to Jannah. And when she will take them to Jannah, the mu'mineen will request, the hadith says, that, oh Allah, now we are here. Now we have brought closer to you, because shafa'at, the meaning of that is that through that we come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through their intercession. We are on a lower level, then when they come and intercede, they take us on a higher level. Whether that be in the case of forgiveness of sins, or whether that be in the case of a person is good, but at the same time is very far from those levels of paradise, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from that perfection. That person have done good, but still requires a lot, because the maqamat and the levels are eternal. So those individuals as well are given shafa'at of Hazrat, of Bibi, right? And then the mu'mineen says that, oh Allah, we want you to honor us by showing us our maqam, our position. And then Allah allows the mu'mineen. And the mu'mineen also go and do shafa'at, or, pick their family members, loved ones, friends, and bring them to Jannah. So you see there's a chain of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because shafa'at itself is nothing but manifestation of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so humongous, is so powerful, that cannot be connected to the creation directly. It has to go through stages. If it connects directly, it's like electricity being connected to a little bulb is going to fuse. That's so powerful. So therefore Allah creates means and ways by which His mercy transcends. His mercy, is delivered where it is required. Otherwise it will not be mercy as such, because Allah wants this mercy to reach. If Allah shows Himself the way He is, everything will. What happened to the Jabal of Musa, right? What happened there, So therefore shafa'at have that aspect. And having said this, even those who contain this mercy must have that capacity, to have that mercy in them, that they could do. In that, this also depends on their position and on their maqam and on their level. Like in another narration we have in Usul Kafi, Kulaini says that on the day of judgment, every ummah and the prophets of the ummah, they will be running in order that they be protected, in order that they have that sense of security and stability and safety, and they will run, and they all will come to Rasulullah, for the shafa'at, for intercession. With the prophets who are ulul azm, they will come to Rasulullah for that. So it's the question of achieving and receiving that mercy. Fatima Zahra right here, Prophet says to Salman, "Oh Salman, my daughter, she is someone, or Salman, whoever loves Fatima, my daughter, will be with me in paradise, and whoever harbors enmity against her will be in the fire." Once again, this points out to the, as we've been discussing for the past nights, to the existential reality of Fatima, who she is, what she represents. The take, and in conclusion of these majalises, what we should take here is that, she is an eternal role model for all of us who are on this path of spiritual wayfaring, who are in this path of, correcting our faults, by looking at her personality, who she was and what she was, and where she was placed in that time among the ignorant ones, among the johala, but she still stands out. And she still represents the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Single-handedly, she stood against oppression. It's a lesson for us today. she sacrificed her life and spoke against the oppression. The injustices that is taking place today, it requires of us, even though there may be a danger in terms of our personality, in terms of our who we are and what we are, but still it requires of us to represent the oppressed ones, to speak against the injustices in the proper way, in the same way how she spoke. She presented her istidlal. She went to the court. She brought the proofs and witnesses. Yes, they were oppressors. They did not listen to her. But the methodology that she showed, she present with ilm, with knowledge, with spirituality, with proofs from the Quran. In a very educative way, she presented her case. Then she becomes that role model. Although in that educated way, in the proper way, the way it should be represented and presented, she voiced against oppression and suffered. Same way for us as well. We have to take her as a role model and speak against the oppression, that injustices that are taking place, and stand up for the rights of the oppressed ones. And she did that. Not only her, and that's why she becomes the role model for other Masumeen. They all followed that. Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, all of them. So, therefore, in the concluding remark, which in the concluding session of today's majlis, this is something that we need to take from the discussions of her personality. It is not just an entertainment journey or a journey of an intellectual discussion journey about her life. It's not just for the entertainment or just for having pleasure of, oh wow, it's so great to know about this personality. No, but rather to take lesson from her, from her life, how she stood in prayers, how she prayed, how she supported her father, her children and her husband in this case, and how she was at home and how she served the family, how she was with the neighbors, with others, for example. So the Rasulullah, here he says that she is the criteria of being in paradise. Love of her and animosity of her is her. O Salman, the love of Fatima is beneficial in 100 places. 100 places the love is beneficial. And this points out to that wherever we get stuck, that is the time where we connect to Fatima, where we do tawassul to Fatima for resolving of our problem that we are in. Whether we are stuck in our nafs and we are unable to defeat the nafs or shaitan, that is the time to do tawassul to Fatima. That is why the scholars, they have always emphasized in regards to hadith kisa. Agar Bahjat, they will go ask him, we have this problem, they say, recite hadith kisa, 40 nights. We have that problem, says recite hadith kisa, 40. The best tawassul to Fatimatu Zahra and to resolve our problems, high nafsani and dunyavi and manavi, is hadith kisa. They have prescribed this to be the solution of many problems. Murattab continuously for 40 days. If we recite hadith kisa, we'll see that the problem is no longer there. So Fatima, so that means that when the Prophet is saying that she will come in hundreds of places to resolve the problem. For us, for example, he clearly says that. And O Salman, hundreds places of trial, and the easiest, Rasulullah says, the easiest of which are death. And when we look at it we will say, oh my God, death is the most dangerous thing, more scary thing, right? But Rasulullah is saying the easiest thing. So there are much grave issues and problems, maybe there, one, or even if they are not there, the easiest is that. And it is a very, heavy, strong phenomena. that all humans will face. That is death. That's the door towards eternal life. That's a departure from this dunya. That is a separation from how we are, how we lived and how we are brought up and our relationships. This parting of that is not easy. When we, part our family for going to some trip, it's difficult for the children and for us. Imagine parting forever. And even that, where we call them, we FaceTime them, we speak to them, we are in touch with them. This is like, no, nothing of that. It is not an easy task. It is not an easy transformation. Reflecting on maut, that's why they say that one of the key prescription or key pill that will help us become stronger in terms of our manaviyat, in terms of preparing us hereafter, is reflecting on in maut, in death. That's why the ulama of akhlaq recommends us that we should have a visitation of graveyards. We should go visit the graves so that we are reminded of this phenomena. Sayyid Ali Qazi, they say last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan, he's not seen, nowhere to be seen in Najaf. But where they will find him, he will be in Wadi Salam. There was a man, one of the students of Sayyid Ali Qazi, at night he was thinking that I had a letter from Isfahan and I need an answer and advice from my teacher. They have called me because there is some problem in Isfahan, and my parents have called me, my family have called me. I need to go back from Najaf. Inshallah, tomorrow morning when I go to my class, I will ask my teacher, Sayyid Ali Qazi, what shall I do? What's his advice? Number 2, he was in his hujra, in his room, and there was like a, not a shelf, it's like, how there's built-in shelf in the walls, and there was few books there. So he says, I want to sleep now, I want to stretch my feet towards it. And he says, it's not Quran, it's okay, I can. There are some books, I will just stretch. It's not Quran to be disrespectful. There are some books, so I'll stretch and I'll sleep. And the other thing he would always ask himself is, why do I see my teacher all the time in Wadi Salam? He's always there. He had rented a room or he has reserved a room in Wadi Salam, and he will spend time there in the graveyard. Wadi Salam that's where he's buried to, So now, and it's highly recommended to pay a visit to him. A great scholar, very amazing, very strange. They asked Allah Ta'ala, they said, Ustad Shuma Ajib Bud. He said his wujud Ajib na Ajube Bud. Not that, No, they said, Ustad Shuma Karhay Ajib Mikar. Na khodesh ajube bud. Leave aside the work. He do strange, mysterious things. He said, no, he himself was a mystery. So this student, he said that, and then he slept. And next morning he goes to his teacher for the class. And he says, the problem that you have in Isfahan, that is resolved. You don't need to go. He's like, shock. How come this man knows? I didn't even mention to anyone. Right? And then he says, although they were not Quran, it is disrespectful. Don't stretch your feet when you sleep towards the books. So what? And you wonder how I know all of these things. I get all of the answers in Wadi Salam. That's why you see me there in the brackets. I'm saying that. So therefore, the death and Wadi Salam, this graveyard, is a place where we get answers, where our yaqeen becomes stronger. Whatever we ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we have that yaqeen in Allah, that He is the provider of it, Allah answers us. Allah gives us the answer, because we get to that yaqeen. Because death brings yaqeen. Because that's the most certain thing that we can and we have faced in this dunya. Yes, having Allah, yaqeen in Allah, okay, fine, we can say that. But death is right here, And this yaqeen brings knowledge. When we say, okay, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is the one, خَلْقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِلْيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. He has created death and life in order to test. Another story for our youngsters in the margin. He had many sons, I think he had like 40 or more sons, and one of them was into occult science. Occult science, Jafro, Ramlo, Adado, Hurufo, Ilm. These are funun. These are all different disciplines which are studied in occult. They call it occult science, numerology, throwing dice, knowing the future, Ilm Jafr. Right. So his son, and he would always tell him, advise his child that, don't get into this stuff, study, do fiqh and usul and, Quran, all getting into the abjad and huruf, ilm adad, what is this? But he would always advise his child. And he was passing by his room, and his son was like trying to throw dice and figure out an answer. And he wasn't getting the answer. As he was passing by, he said, okay, place this, sticks or, these numbers in this, and then throw the dice. So he did exactly what his father told. And as soon as he throws the dice, the answer comes. He says, oh my God, oh father, you tell me not to study. It seems you are studying secretly, huh? He says, no. At this very moment I ask Allah, oh Allah, tell me. And at this very moment Allah told me. So that yaqeen should be there. That certainty should be there. So the most easiest where the love of Zahra will come to assist, the Prophet says, is a time of death. Is a transferring of us from this dunya to the other. Fatima to Zahra, because we are lover of her, inshallah, she will be present, she will be there. Then, O Salman, the love of Fatima is beneficial in 100 places of trial, the easiest of which are death. Then the grave is not easy. When it's placed, isma, ifham, when we do talqeen, what is it? Is it really this land here? No, it's that barzakh. That's why it's symbolized as grave. That's the connecting point to the higher realms and reality of barzakh. But it is a place of darkness, because we have never faced that. As they say that when a person dies and he's placed in that grave, nobody there. And he's scared what to come. What comes next? He's all by himself. He doesn't know. It's like, imagine for instance, you go somewhere and in immigration, they stop you and they put you in the dark room. You have no idea what's going to happen next, Right? You don't know where you're going to go. You're going to go back home, what's going to happen, what not. You're just put in there. That is so intimidating. So then that's the time where the love of Fatima will come. That's the time where Fatima will come. I'm just being very briefly, I don't want to get into the whole eschatology of things. And those who are interested in having a deeper understanding of eschatology, there's an essay by William Chittick in the book called Islamic Spirituality, and there's a PDF of that. You can probably look into it for our youth, for our youngsters, or anybody who's interested in. There's a very beautiful article by him where he looks at eschatology from mystical point of view, the Qiyamat and the, resurrection and the Day of Judgment and what it is based on the narrations and the ayahs of the Quran. Then the easiest, which are death, the grave, and after that the weighing of deeds, when the deeds are weighed. What have we brought? It will be weighed. What is the quality? I brought, for example, as a hypothetical, I brought 200 prayers. Okay, waznish baby, what's the wazn of it? What's the weight of it? What's the quality of it? Allah say in إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah accepts from those who are muttaqi. Muttaqin are who? Hammam asked Amirul Mu'mineen, tell us the qualities of muttaqin. Who are muttaqin? Ali says, no, I'm not going to give that speech on muttaqin. He said, no, Hammam, please Ali, tell. Ali says, okay, let's go. Ali alayhi salam takes Hammam and other ashab to the desert, in the wilderness, and then he gives sermon, and that sermon is in Nahjul Balagha, known as Khutbah Hammam or known as Khutbah Muttaqin. I mean, it's very important for us to sometimes open the book, open the Quran, open Saif Sajjadiyah, just read, just not the whole khutbah, just read the title page. What khutbahs are there? What du'as are there? Du'as when he hears the thundering, now there's cloud and thundering happening. What Imam Sajjad alayhi salam would recite when he hears thunder. What Imam Sajjad alayhi salam recites when he sees the new moon. How he communicates with the moon. How he connects to the moon. Oh creature, how blessed you are. He's speaking to the moon. Unfortunately, we are confined to our four walls. We are confined in our comfort zone of our social media, of our movies, of our televisions. That's how we communicate. And this is not even a communication, it's a one-way street. They just tell us, we just listen and read, and affects our brain. Go out there in the nature. Speak to the nature. Like as we said, there are two books of Allah. There's Kitab al-Takwini, which is the nature, which is Kitab al-Tashri, which is the Quran. Read the Kitab al-Takwini. Quran speaks to us. When we are reading Quran, that's what it says, that Quran is speaking to us. Allah is speaking to us. This nature also speaks to us. This Quran al-Takwin. But we are not speaking or communicating or listening to what these ayat are saying. Imam Sajjad is even teaching us that. He listens to the Ra'ad. He speaks about the thunder. He sees the moon. He speaks to the moon. He says, what a beautiful creature, how lucky you are. Allah have destined you to be the beginning of the month. Through you, the month begin. How blessed you are. Very similar to the indigenous Americans here, how they would communicate, because their religion was based on nature. Their deen was nature. The nomads, they would tribes, and they will move place to place because of nature. The shamans, the religious heads, they were known as the shamans, right? The tribes would go to the shamans and say, we are hungry. We don't have food. Then the shaman will communicate with the nature and would say that, few miles down in the mountains, there's a herd of seals. And I have communicated with this herd of seals. There are about 23 of them. But kill only 2, because I have made a pact with them that we need only 2 to feed our tribe. Don't be greedy. Then he would send them, because he's communicating with the nature, right? He respects the nature, and nature respects them. And that's how they used to live in the past. And this reality is within Islam as well. I will show them our signs, my signs, upon the horizon and within themselves. Until it is clear to them that haqq, that Allah is the truth. When we reflect in the ayat, in the signs, that's what we will understand. Nature is full of lessons and manifestation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The greatest manifestation that we see in nature is the justice of Allah. And that's why it is beautiful. In nature, there is justice of Allah. Everything is perfectly balanced and is in harmony. It is man who creates the injustices because of which we see all of these calamities that we see. Otherwise, even today, the justice of Allah, the adl ilahi, is in nature. Everything is so perfect. And due to that, it gives us ease and peace when we go out there. Because insan, as a human being, we love justice. We hate zulm. We don't like oppression. And in this dunya, we are all surrounded by injustices, oppression, limitation, jealousy, whatnot. And then we leave all of this and we go out in the nature, we synchronize with our fitra, and that synchronizes with the nature out there. And we find peace, we find sukoon, we find aramesh. And then we come back after a weekend and we say, oh, we should do this more often, But after 2 years we go again. Oh man, I was so busy, I was doing this, I was doing dunya. We go for a hike and then we forget. It was nice by the end of it. Why? Because we felt that peace. By looking at the ayat of ilahi, how the work of Allah, the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? By discovering that. But eventually, because we are too preoccupied with the dunya, we don't. So, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, for example, Masumin alayhi salam, they have promoted this akhlaq, this culture, these things which we need to bring into our community, into our household. Planting trees, watering, taking care of them, speaking to plants in your house when you water them. Speak to them, communicate with them. Hassan Zadeh Amali, the students of Hassan Zadeh said, we want to take you for a food, for a lunch. They said, and he was saying, I don't want to come. It will be difficult for you and ta'arufat and all that. And they insisted him and said, it will be difficult for you guys and all that. He said, okay, finally, okay. They went. And the food was brought. And then here Hassan Zadeh said, oh, the tomato comes, the potato comes. He said, oh, potato, welcome, how are you? Where have you been? Look how beautiful you are. Look at your color. Oh, you have come from very far. You are in my plate now. Thank you so much. How was your mother that have given such a beautiful shape and form and color? How you were in the past like a seed. Now look how you are. It's all communication. Hassan Zadeh. Engaging. This will help the nafs to come out of the hawa. If something comes, oh, mashallah, it's like, I'll even forget Bismillah to say Bismillah. I'll just jump onto the food. I don't care who's next to me or who's in front of me. Right? That's the nafs. And it is natural that we want food. It is natural that we have to eat. But there's a way of it in order to train ourselves and our nafs for higher, to achieve higher reality. So therefore, communication with the nature, with the surrounding, and here, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, as I started discussing that, through that we spoke a lot of things. He communicates, with the moon. When death is mentioned, he reflects on the reality of the death. And the khutbah of Bibi, we say, وَالشُّكْرُ عَلَى مَا أَلْحَمَ بِهِ. In the khutbah Fadakiyah, she says that, oh Allah, I'm thankful to you for what you do ilham. This ilhamat happens. This knowledge descends. Allah opens our heart and mind for higher forms of reality. So here as it says that, the grave and the weighing of deeds, our prayers, our amal will be weighed. In my namaz, if there is my salat, there is no ma'rifat of Allah. In my du'as, it's just lip service. What good is that? I need to know the deeper meaning of this. And it is out there. Maybe a commentary is there. Even if the commentary is not needed, just read and just sit and reflect. Tadabbur wa tafakkur, which the Quran is saying so much. But we have to come out of this shackles of this dunya that is pulling us, the gravity that is there. While fulfilling the responsibilities and commitment that we have. Not that leaving everything. That is also not right. Payambar ran out of the house without wearing abba when somebody came and said that these young and youth people, they went on a mountain doing ibadat of you, leaving their family and children. Rasulullah said, what is this? This is not the way to do it. Who's Rasul, engage, sit with people, sit with family, play with children, do everything that is required. With all of that, we have to dedicate time. Then when Allah sees that dedication, that commitment, that responsibilities that we are fulfilling, Allah provides. And we have to continuously ask Allah. It's nice to intellectually have understanding and manaviyah, but we have to have a program. We have to discipline ourselves. We have to have a program in our life if we really want to get somewhere. Yes, Imam Zamana will come, inshallah, and we will be the helpers, and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to give the opportunity. What will Imam Zamana give us? Imam Zamana will give us tawheed, will give us manaviyat, will give us love of Hussein. All of these things are there. That's what he would provide us with. How he will train us, he will give us that heart that is capable of seeing Wajhullah. Those things are there. We have to, put into practice. When we put into practice what we know, more knowledge is provided. One day I was going back home in Safaiye. Those who have gone to Qom, they know. And all of a sudden I saw Agha Bahjat. I always mention this. This is my first time here. I have mentioned in different places. Because I know Abdul Rahim is saying that Maulana is just, you're microwaving what you have said before. But some of the brothers, they don't know these stories, so I'm sharing it with them. Because with Abdul Rahim, I know him for 24 years, mashallah. May Allah protect him, and may he be in the du'as of Imam Zaman and all of you, inshallah. So I was walking, and then I saw Agha Bahjat. I was like, wow, Agha Bahjat, it's very difficult to find, like this personality by himself. He was all alone. Usually there are like crowded people around, right? So I ran to him. I said, Agha Bahjat, I was so scared to speak to him, because this man knows what's your nafs, am I a donkey, or am I a dog, or a wolf? I don't know what I am. I'm too scared to go in front of him and speak to him, right? And then I said, okay, but still I have to, no matter what. So I ran, I gave him salams. I said, Agha, I'm come from very far, from all the way from America. I don't know, I may be here for 5 years, 6, I don't know how long I'll be here. And please give me something, like a magic word or a magic wand that I do this and I become Arif, That's what we expect, that's what we want, right? Some zikr, Yahoo, something happens, right? And we engage, we communicated where you come from, what, and then he started asking, what book are you reading? We were doing Adbiyat Arab, Shar ibn Aqil Mikhondim Sharif. So he started reciting the poetry of Shar ibn Aqil. I said, look at the memory of this man, And then he said, practice what you know, and Allah will open doors of knowledge towards you. This was one of the most important advice of Agha Bahjat. He would always give. Practice what you know, and Allah will teach you. Yu'allimukumullah, as they say, when a person practice. So it's important to have a program. And that's how the recommendations are there, so that it puts us in some sort of form and organization. You are doing Hadith Kisa, okay, 40 days. Ziyarat Ashura, okay, 40 days. Always you have this. Month of Ramadan, 30 days of fasting. This time of prayers, praying on time, all of these things. And we are aware of this. We have heard about it. We have read about it. But the point is to implement it and to be strong and ask Allah that we are successful in implementing that we are successful. Allah, give me tawfiq that I do my prayers on time. And when we do it on time, thank Allah, and we do again, and we do again. Because it's easily vanishes. It's like catching a fish with a hand. It's very difficult. It escapes. Our nafs is like that. It's lazy. Inna nafsa ammaratu bisu, as the Munajat Shakin of the fourth Imam. Imam is doing shikwa. Imam is complaining to Allah. Imam is saying, Ashku ilayka nafsi, Ya Allah. I am doing shikwa, I am complaining to you, Allah. Of what? Of my nafs. Why? Because inna nafsa ammarat bisu. Oh Allah, my nafs commands me to do evil. It is natural. When the sun will rise, the day will come. So our nafs means, inna nafsa ammarat bisu, it will command to do evil, naturally. That's how our nafs is. But, alhamdulillah, these illas are very important. Illa ma rahima rabbi. Unless the mercy of Allah is not on that nafs, it will always pull us down. But the rahmat of Allah should be there. Illa ma rahima rabbi. What is the rahim? The rahima rabbi is the Quran. The rahima rabbi is Ahl Bayt. If that is with us, then that's why the Prophet says that the love of Fatima will protect us, and the most easiest of them is at death. Most easiest of them is in grave. Most easiest of them is when our ibadat is being weighed. That's the place where Fatima will come and help us and assist us. So therefore, these riwayat, they become a source, or they become a principle for many other things. And that's how the Mujtahideen and Maraje make use of. And we fall short when it comes to virtues, ethics, and manaviyat. Because we are more focused towards ahkam. So as we are more focused, I want to say that if a marja, if a mujtahid looks at a hadith in regards to ahkam, halal and haram, he will take out principles from there. For example, the ayah of the Quran, like in Jakum Fasik Fatabayyanu. The ayah of the Quran which says, if a corrupt person comes to you, investigate. That's the ayah of the Quran. The mujtahid, he would say that, okay, the ayat is saying that if the corrupt person comes and tells me, I have to investigate whether what he is saying is right or wrong. What if Faraji comes and tell me, he's not a corrupt person. This means that I have to believe. That's the hidden tacit meaning behind it, right? That's the hidden meaning behind that. Although the Quran is saying if a fasik person comes and investigate. But a mujtahid will look at it, okay, see, there is a meaning behind that. That means if a good person comes and tell me, I should accept. So therefore, if I have a hadith which comes from Zurara, who was a good person, I don't need to investigate, I will accept. Because he was not a fasid, when I look Ilm Rijal, for example. So what our Maraje have mostly geared and focused towards hadith and riwayat and ayat, which are related to ahkam, halal and haram. Very few have spent their time investigating akhlaqiyat, manaviyat. That is psychology. It's like law. A person who is doing law, he will focus on things which are right and wrong. But a psychologist will focus that from ilmun nafs in a different way. Like for example here, Rasulullah is saying the easiest place where the love of Fatima will come to help you is death, is grave, is, sirat, is, in the weighing. That means the love of Fatima can be helpful in every stages and problems of my life. When it is helpful in that stage, and that's the easiest one, then I should ask Allah, Ya Allah, bi Fatimata, right? For the sake of Fatima, give me the opportunity so that I see your face, O Allah. So that I love you, O Allah. So that you become my everything and my goal and my purpose. And that's where the Imam Zaman wants to take us. And these things are here. Right? And if we act upon it, if we understand it, then we will understand the purpose of Imam Zaman. What he really wants. Like that day we spoke about, I'm concluding now, that day we spoke about the universals. We have to focus on these universals, these universal principles that is appreciated and understood without any color, without any form, without any name as such. Every insan will accept those universal principles. And the Masumeen alayhim salam have provided us and are the giver of these universal principles, that even a person who's not a Muslim would say that, wow, this is fascinating. I accept this, what the Imam is saying and what he wants to give, because it's good for me. That's what I want. Right? So that is the purpose. Right? And we have to focus on that and try to understand that and take our community and ourselves towards those universals. Right? And one last thing, question in the Hausa, when I joined about 12 years ago as a, principal of the Hausa, I introduced a module, Religions of Man. There's a text which I studied when I was studying in Evergreen Valley College. It's a text, Religions of Man by Dr. Houston Smith. Dr. Houston Smith was a close friend of Sayyid Hussain Nasr. He was a perennial philosopher, very interesting personality. You may find him on YouTube. And he, in one of the interviews, he died. He was very old. And in that interview, he says, every night before I sleep, I recite Surah Fatiha. And he recited the Surah Fatiha in Hamd. Although he was known to be a Christian, but as he was a perennialist, so Religions of Man is a good text. So I introduced this text in the Hausa. I wrote the module, and I myself started teaching it. When I introduced as a module of religions of the world, some other teachers were teaching it, then I said, no, I have to teach this. So I started teaching after one term, because when it was introduced, some of my colleagues, they thought that it should be taught in a linear way. 2500 BC, Judaism came, this is what happened, this is what happened. No, the purpose is not that, but to look at the religion from its essence. What's the message? What it's trying to give and give? Teach us the principles that are there in that religion. Those principles are very important. The universals are very important. For example, in Confucianism, Confucius, it says that the Confucius will not sit if the mat is not symmetrical. If the mat is not nicely laid and perfect, he will not sit. He wants that to be perfect. That's why he made China what China is today. When they asked him about hereafter, about Qiyamah, he was a believer. He believed in the hereafter. He believed in God. When they asked him about the hereafter, he says, let us learn how to crawl. After which we'll speak about walking. Because China at that time was chaotic. There was all this tribal wars and whatnot. But Confucius came and he organized and he united them and he made them a big force based on his book, based on his teaching, Virtues of Confucius. Confucius is there. So I introduced this module, first time I'm teaching, and new student, first year students, there was a brother, may Allah protect him, I will not take his name, 18-year-old, young, right after A-levels, joined the Hausa and very activist, he had Iraqi roots as well. And then he says, Sheikh, Maulana, what is this you're talking about Hinduism and Confucianism and Taoism, and I'm here in the Hausa to study fiqh and usul and Quran, and you're giving me all this. And there was always these debates and discussions, outside the class also going on, because it was like first time given, and in the dorms here there were students, and we always discuss, right? And one day, like it was end of the term, I was just doing my work, cleaning and stuff, and then he comes in and he says, Sheikh, when I entered Hausa, I saw Imam Sadiq like this. But now I see Imam Sadiq like this. That really showed. And I was so happy the way he said. And that's what Ahlul Bayt wants. They want to understand that humanity, those human principles, those human values, and appreciate them and share them. As Allah says that I have created you in qabail, in different tribes and different, nations. لِتَعَرُفُوهُ. Now some of the tafsir says, what is this ta'arufu? To know what? In order to have the ma'rifat of each other? No, in order that you have the ma'rifat of Allah. This nation worships Allah in this fashion. This tribe worships Allah in this fashion. I worship. When we engage, communicate and learn, we say, how beautiful is this? We understand things. We learn things from each other. So it's very important to approach our deen, religion, Shiism particularly, is so deep. There's so much of esotericism, the batin of our deen, our religion. The manaviyat that is there is fascinating. And people out there, religions out there, they are thirsty of these manaviyat. And sometimes because of our practices and because of our these sort of, restrictions and colors and forms, we become a hurdle for them to really see that manaviyat. Right? So it's important. And that's what Siddiqa Kubra Fatima Zahra Salamullah Alayha tried and wanted, and have laid the foundation of that with all her titles and what she is and what not, which we have discussed in terms of her position, her reality, that esoteric meaning of who Fatima is. And those things are not like I'm mentioning this. It's all been mentioned. It's been mentioned for a peculiar and particular reason, which is to focus on that universal spirituality. Not that we give away our i'tiqadat and our belief and our love and what we wear and what we do and how we do. No. That will be a disservice. That will be disrespectful towards the very hand that has given us. We are not, giving ihtaram to that hand. What good that I have achieved from the person who have given me? I have to respect that hand. I have to respect that source. I have to be like that. Then we will be able to, go further. And it is the world who were limited to this colors and forms and shapes. They were the one who have done that zulm upon the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. And that is why the zulm on Fatima Salamullah Alayha is symbolic in terms of the reality of the dunya, that this is how it will be. It is a cosmological chart or cosmological phenomena where Fatima faces that type of zulm. And it continues, and it will continue in this fashion till that hatta matla'il fajr, till that fajr, which is by the 12th Imam when he comes. But it will be salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. That message of Fatima, that message of Quran, that message of Salah will be protected, will be salim, and will be salam, will be protected till that 12th Imam comes. It was not easy for Fatima to accept that what will happen to her children. There's a book, I spoke as well earlier about this book, Furugh Shahadat, in which there's a hadith which says that when the news was brought to Fatima before Imam Hussein was born, she said, La hajata fi, I don't want this child if my child is killed that way. Then Rasulullah said, but this child will protect the deen. Then she says, yes, I will accept. They have the journey of the dunya, mulk, and also they have the journey of the malakut and manavi as well. Which mother would express and would desire that their children be killed that fashion? So they have to reflect that. They have to be, sincere towards their mulki, worldly life as well. And they were. And that's why, you find that how her relationship was with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, where Imam Hussein alayhi salam, as we read earlier as well, that she spoke to the mother on the 28th of Rajab when he leaves towards Karbala. And he says that from that day, the presence of my mother, and my mother was always with me. Till that last day, on the day in the plain of Karbala, where Imam Hussein is on the ground, and Shimr is about to sever the head of Hussein, is about to cut the head of Hussein. There's a poet, a scholar, Mir Anis, in Urdu, he has written poetry. In Persian, he has written poetry. I'm talking about early 19th century here. He writes in a poem, in a Marsiya. He says that Shimr was about to sever the head of Hussein. And when he was about to cut the head of Hussein, he sees a lady placing her neck on the head of Hussein. And Shimr thought that this is the sister of Hussein, which is Zainab, who have arrived. And he says, I'm going to sever the head of the brother and sister together. Oh Zainab, move. These are mukashafat, these are manaviyat, these are things which unfolded, and these are reality. It is not poetic, it is not stories, but it happened. Because there is la yawmuka yawmuka Aba Abdullah, there is no day like the day of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. What happened on that day we cannot imagine. So he says, I'm going to cut the head of the brother and sister together. Then all of a sudden a voice echoed, O Shimr, you are blind. This is not Zainab but Zahra. O Shimr, don't kill my son, for whom I have worked so hard by grinding the wheat, by feeding him, by protecting him. I have raised him in this fashion, and you are killing my son, O Shimr. Zahra had arrived, and it was painful. Not only while she was living, even after she died, she suffered while attending to her beloved son Hussein being slain in that fashion. Then you have this model of relationship. Then there is another model of relationship, which is the daughter and mother, daughter and father. Rasulullah and Fatima, Imam Ali and Zainab Salamullah alayha, Imam Hussein and Ruqayya. This relationship also very special and unique. In the model of relationship of Rasulullah and Fatima, Fatima cried since the day of the demise and before that when father became ill. The only happiness for Fatima was when father said that, oh Fatima, you will be the first one to meet me. And she was the first one to meet after the death of Rasulullah. And Ruqayya was the first one to meet after the shahadat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So the father-daughter relationship was very special. And here Ali and Zainab the same way. As mother leaves and Hussein leaves, there is a poet which recite on Sham-e-Ghariban, in the eve of Ashura, where there was no Hussein, and Zainab was guarding the burnt tents of Hussein and the children of Hussein. Then she says, a horseman approached me. When this horseman approached me, I said, who is this non-mahram, who is this man, Arab, coming towards me? And she said, stop right there. And then this horseman unveils himself, and it is no one but Ali. That's why Ali was there with Zainab when she was delivering those sermons. And she got the strength from her father, because daughters, they get their strength from their fathers. And here Zainab says, oh Baba, you have arrived now when my brother is killed. Oh Baba, you have arrived now when my Qasim's body, on which the hooves of horses were galloped. Oh Baba, you have arrived now where Ali Asghar was killed that way. And the most painful of explanation of her was that, oh Baba, you have arrived when my Ali Akbar have been killed. Zainab always loved Ali Akbar so much. Zainab always remember Ali Akbar and other children, and she always never spoke about her own children, Aun and Muhammad.
And finally, Sakina, Ruqayya and Hussein. As they say that this was also a special relationship. This little Ruqayya, 3 years old, saw Hussein in the dream and started to cry. And the enemy said that why this girl is crying, while the whole ladies in the prison is crying. They said, Sakina, Ruqayya have seen Hussein in the dream, have seen father in the dream. They said, give the head of the father to this girl. The head was sent, and this little girl, imagine a 3-year-old, takes the head of the father and says, oh father, have they given you water before they slaughtered you? That's the first thing she says. After speaking and asking about father and asking, where is my baby Ali Asghar? He has gone with you. Where is my brother Ali Akbar? And then while speaking, she says that, oh father, when you left us, they burnt our tents. Oh father, when you left us, they slapped us and they snatched my earrings. Oh father, you said that you should treat the orphans very good, but they treated the worse. While speaking, she went quiet, and Zainab says, oh Sajjad, why Sakina is not speaking? And Sajjad in those chains sits down, shakes the shoulder of Ruqayya, and he says, my aunt Zainab, inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allah la'natullah ala qawm az-zalimin. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. فاطمة وأبيها وبالها وبنيها وسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك فأجرنا بمولاة رقية سلام الله عليها. يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. Ya Qadi al-Hajat, Ya Kafi al-Muhammad, innaka ala kulli shayin qadir. The zikr of Zainab and Ruqayya was very special because we don't know in regards to what will happen of her shrines, because we have got the news that the Syria, Damascus have fallen, and there's the beautiful little haram of Sayyidina Ruqayya there. They have switched off the lights and they have locked the haram. And there's a haram of Zainab there. The haram of Zainab is also no longer have any light, and they have locked. We really wonder the fate and future of these two harams. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Fatimah Zahra salamullah alayha. Ya Allah, protect the Shi'ayan of Amirul Mu'mineen, no matter where they live in this world, in Syria, in Iran, in Iraq, in Iran, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in wherever they live in this world. May Allah protect the Shi'ayan, their honor, their life and their dignity. May Allah haste the reappearance of our 12th Imam and include us as the faithful companions of the 12th Imam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of our Maraji Izam, give them strength and tawfiq that they create the groundwork for the reappearance of our 12th Imam. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Matam Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein.
يا حسين لعنة الله على ظالميك فاطمة لعنة الله على ظالميك فاطمة لعنة الله على ظالميك فاطمة لعنة الله على كتبت التاريخ يدي مو نظيفة ازلوا اللي نصب الباري خليفة ما نسينا الظلم والزهرة العفيفة لعنة الله